In this video, we are going to talk about change data capture, which is CDC in BigQuery. How would you do that? In this video, what you would understand is using stored procedure, we are going to manage the change data capture from Google Sheets coming into BigQuery. Next, we are going to look at in detail the stored procedure and how you can write a stored procedure in BigQuery. And at the end of it, we will see FAQs on how to manage CDC for other sources, different kinds of sources and different types of data. So hello everybody, I am Naresh Jasutani and I am a specialist customer engineer working at Google in AI and ML space. I'm going to be a presenter for this course. I have published Adapting TensorFlow for Real-World AI, which is available on Google Play Store as well as Amazon Kindle. Let's get started. The change data capture is not new in data warehousing world. The records in the source can be inserted, updated, or deleted when you have a target in BigQuery. How would you make sure that the target table in BigQuery has been synced with the source? It can be a nightly job or multiple times a day or even hourly or a sub-hour job as well, frequency-wise. So there are multiple methods which are possible to do CDC on BigQuery. First is Google Dataflow, which is an ETL. You can write ETL jobs and you would do it as any other ETL tool. Second is using Python scripts or BigQuery command line. You can do that as well. Number 3 is using stored procs in BigQuery. So in this session, I'm going to talk about stored procedures. Using stored procedures. Assuming that this is the data set in Google Sheets. So in Google Sheets, I have this data, which is country, head of state name, head of government, and head of government name. You have these countries, and please understand that country is my key. Now, on the second day, which is day 1, this was an initial load. On the second day, which is day 1, the records have been updated. So Brazil is a new record, which wasn't there earlier. It was added. And then for Canada, the record was updated from head of state, Governor General to Royal, Queen Elizabeth. Now, please, I have no intention to hurt Canadian sentiments, but looking at the Wikipedia head of state data, this is what I got. Now, let's look at how to conceptually do the change data capture. So again, day 0, you have this Google Sheets data, and on day 0, you're going to load that data set in BigQuery. If you look at it, all the records, there are 5 here, there are 5 here. Next day, day 1, again, the Brazil record is added and Canadian record is updated. How will you do that? We'll have a stored procedure. Let's call that stored procedure as SP_CDC, which is change data capture. And it's gonna match the records from our target table, which is in BigQuery. This is Google Sheets, this is BigQuery. And it's gonna match the records. Make sure that updates is happening. So let's look at this. Brazil, the new record is added and Canadian record is updated. And we also have a run control table. Please watch till the end of the video, in which we're going to talk about run control tables, how it can help to manage CDC across multiple data sets. Now, let's look at the real code. This is the data set in Google Sheets. The name of the data set is heads of country, and these are the head of countries. Note Canadian, you have Governor General, Julie. What you would do is copy the link. You can copy the entire link from here and go to BigQuery. In the previous set of videos, I have told you how to create a data set. So we'll create a data set in this blank project. I'm going to type the data set name as test_ds, which is data set. Default table expiration, I can set a table expiration or just leave it default and say create. You would see a data set known as test_ds has been created. Now, let me remember the link I copied for the Google Sheets here. I'm going to create a table. From the create table option, I'm going to click on drive and paste the link over here. I can remove the last few statements, few edit things, and then say Google Sheet. So pasted the link, selected Google Sheets. In the table name, I'm going to say head of country _ G sheet. The data set name is set, and the table type is external. External table means that the table data set is somewhere else, and all you're referring is a link. It's like a view, like a federated query going into Google Sheet. Now, I can say auto detect schema and input parameters, but I don't want to do that because I'm going to change the names of the columns itself, just to be keeping it simple. Therefore, I'm going to say add field, country, string mode would be required because it's a key, head of state, string, head of state _ name, head of government, and head of government _ name as my 5 fields. And if you look at here, these are my 5 fields. In the advanced options, I'm going to say header rows to be skipped would be 1 because I do not want the first row to be red, which is the column row. Again, I'm going to click on create table, and going here, you would see that the table has been created, and in the details section, you would see that this is my table when it was created, and this is the link to the spreadsheet. If you click on here, you'll go to the spreadsheet. So this has been done, and if I just say select star from test_ds dot hoc_g sheet, I just run it, and you will see an external table. The data has been pulled, which is my 5 different countries. So this is my source table. I'm going to create a target table, which I'm going to name it as HOC_CDC. That is my target table. Note that I'm creating this table under this data set and the table name. I'm going to say select star from the target table, which is G sheet, but I'm adding 3 more columns. Current timestamp as created date, current timestamp again because this is the initial load as the last updated date, but the next time when a record would be updated, this last updated date the column will be updated as well. But for the initial created and the last updated date would be same, and then I'm tagging initial load as last updated by, and then I want to run this command. Doing this, it created a new table, which is CDC, and you can see the CDC table over here. If I click on this and go to preview, you would see those 3 columns added with initial load. Now, next step is to go and update the source. That means I'm going to add 1 more record, and I'm going to change the Canadian record over here with the Royal and Queen Elizabeth. Let me add Brazilian record. Added the Brazilian record over here, saved it. It's very important to save it. Now I'm going to write a stored proc, and then we are going to look at the stored proc, how it works. This is a stored proc, SP CDC, and I'm going to run it, and we are going to then scan through the code once we have seen the stored proc working. Running this statement created a new procedure named this, and you can see the stored proc over here. Clicking on this, you can also look at the statement which was written. Please note that the stored proc once created can be executed using the call statement. Let me show you the call statement. This is the call statement. Now, what this is going to do is compare the data between G Sheet and CDC and keep it in sync. Remember, one record is updated and one record is added. Before doing that, before running this, we are going to create a run control table. Remember, otherwise this is going to give an error. To create a run control table, I'm going to say create table, an empty table. I don't have anything yet, so I'll say run underscore control underscore TBL, and I'm going to add records. So run control table, these are the columns. Table name as the source table name, sorry, the target table name. This is source table name, records inserted, number of records deleted, updated, and then run date. You can add more fields to it, but for now, we're just going to keep it like that. And I'm going to say in the advanced option, no changes, and I'm going to say create table. A table known as run control TBL would be created now. Looking at the schema details, you would see integer, integer, integer for these things, and then timestamp for the last one. Let's call the stored procedure now. The stored procedure is going to find out the difference and do the CDC for you. So procedure is succeeded. Now let's look at the target table. In the target table, what you would find is in the preview, this is the target table, remember? On the right hand side, what you're seeing is there are two records touched by stored proc. And for the Brazilian one, you would see the, let me just create a little bit of space. Okay, for the Brazilian one, you would see the created date, timestamp as the same, and you have stored proc, which is updated. And then for Canadian one, you see the Royal and Queen Elizabeth updated with the created date remains the previous one, but the last updated date to the latest one. This tells you that it's updated, and it was updated by the stored proc. That's how you will take care of the stored proc. Let's do it one more time. Now let's look at the run control table. Using the run control table, you are seeing that the number of records inserted and updated were 1. Now let me go back and delete a record. So going back in the heads of the country, I am going to delete China. Right click and say delete. And I'm going to change United States, US, to United States. So deleted one record and updated the key. So when you update the key, unlike the Canadian update the last time, now it's going to say, you know what, this is a new record. And by the way, I have found a record to be deleted as well. So now it will say 2 deletes, one for the China and another for the US, and one insert, which is going to be United States, because this is the key record. Let's see how it works in the run table. So I'm going to call the stored procedure one more time. It's going to take some time to run. I'm going to pause the video. So the procedure has run successfully. Going to HOC CDC, the target table, you would see United States now. China has been removed, and So United States is now US, but if you look at the created date and the last updated date is the same. That means the timestamp is the same. That means it is a new record. Let's look at the run control table. The run control table now says that one record was inserted, another two were deleted because you played around with the key. Let's do it one more time. Let me change for India. Let me make Ram Govind and I'm going to save it. Go back to BigQuery, run the procedure again, and now it will say updated because the key for India was IN. I'm not touching the key. I just updated a value for a non-key column. So let's go in here. It's updated, I believe. Let's look at the target table. It says Ram Govind, not Nath. And in the run control table, you see it says updated. Now let's look at the logic of this stored procedure and how you can do it on any other databases. Please watch till the end of the video. I'm going to show you how you can do multiple things for different kinds of tables in BigQuery. Let's look at the stored proc. So this was a statement, create or replace procedure, and this is the stored procedure name, no parameter. You can parameterize this stored proc as well. Begin is how you begin. Next, what you would do is you will find out new or modified records and tag it as new. So how would you do it? You would say select country from the sheet. That means sheet. And remember in the last video, we talked about except and distinct. So find out all the records from the sheet which are not there in the target. Find out all the records which are there in sheet but not there in the target, which is CDC. Next, find out the modified records. Modified records, how would you find out the other way? Find out all the records which are in the target but not there in the sheet. When I say all the records, meaning the entire string. It's very important to note that the CDC table has 3 more columns: created date, last update date, and the updated by. You don't want to use a star over here. Otherwise, this is not going to run. Let's look at the first half of the stored proc. This is how the first half of stored proc looks like. Create or replace. I created a temp table so that I can process all the data. And then in the temp table, I'm saying insert, delete, or update. You would look at the logic, you will understand. I'm not going to go down to the detail level for now, but I create a flag in the temp table which says insert, delete, or update based on records modified in the source, full outer join, records modified in new or modified in the source. Remember the except logic which I was just talking about, and I'm joining based on country. Please note that the stored procedure statement as well as the file, the data file, is available on a Google Drive link, which is mentioned in the video description section of the video below. In this video. Now, this is a logic for insert records. I say insert into the target where the operation flag is insert. Note that I'm using created date and last update date for the current timestamp, and the last updated by is stored proc. For deletion, very simple. Find out the operation flag which is deleted. Remember the operation flag in the last slide here. The operation flag was set to insert, delete, or update based on which if the data is null or not. You look at it, you'll find it out. Next is update records. Update the table, and I'm joining with the CDC temp table where the operation flag is flag. And please note that I'm only updating the last update date and last update by, not touching the created date. Let's look at the next section of stored proc. Then I'm updating the run control table over here, wherein I'm putting table name, source table name, and I'm counting the number of records inserted, deleted, or updated then run date when it was run from the temp table. At the end, I'm dropping the temp table, and end meaning ending the stored procedure itself. As you know, the run table looks something like this. Now, this is the entire second half of the stored procedure, which is insert records, delete records, update records, then update run control table, delete the temp table, and end the stored proc. Time for some FAQs on CDC, change data capture in BigQuery. So as I started, there are multiple methods to do CDC in BigQuery. Was first using Google Dataflow, which is one of the options. Another is Python script or BigQuery command line. Third option is using stored procedures. Now, FAQs. How would you implement CDC when you don't have last updated timestamp in the source? This is the example. In this example, in our source system, we did not have any last updated timestamp or any kind of a timestamp. Therefore, we have to take the entire data set, match it with the entire target table. It could be huge, but if you do not have a way to identify the changes, you have to do that. Now, what if I have or you have the last updated timestamp in the query? How do you implement CDC with the source system having a last update timestamp? In that case, you would take the same stored proc, but looking at the entire data set from the source, you're just going to look at the last update timestamp from the source. That will be used in conjunction with the run table. Remember, in the run table, you had the last runtime. Based on that table, you can use it. Please understand that there could be some timing differences, and those are nitty-gritty of implementation. When I say timing differences, meaning the run time of the last run of the stored proc. So the timing differences, for example, the run control table in my stored proc is getting updated at the very end. That could be a problem because now when you are pulling the data and when the stored procedure is running the first few statements, what if the source gets updated? If it's a constantly changing source. So all those nitty-gritty implementation details, you can take a look, but that is how run control table can help you identify which time the last time it was run, and then run the delta, which is the number of records changed after the last time run. Can I do the same CDC logic for a file stored in a cloud storage bucket? Yes, you can use a very similar CDC logic for any source table. I just showed you a Google Sheet. You can use cloud storage or a table from on-prem coming in from Oracle, or even a PubSub engine. You can use anything, but for PubSub, please understand you have to use Google Dataflow to get the database. That's for the data set. Can I do it for a table from any other source of data? That is correct. You can do it this using any other data source from the data. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful.